Chapter 25. Spoiler. Midnight Sun by Stephenie Meyer. And finally, here it is. The long years waiting for this novel have been totally worth it. Fans can finally read Edward Cullen's side of the story. So join us in this chapter as we relish in the many things Stephenie Meyer has granted for us in this novel. As always, we will share our favorite moments, quotes, and what we generally thought of the story. We post every Wednesday. Turn the page. Welcome to another chapter of Between the Pages. If this is your first time joining us on our podcast, welcome. We are your hosts. My name is Haneen.
And my name is Nesma.
We host this podcast together where we review and recommend books for you to read.
We usually have non-spoiler chapters for those of you who want a spoiler-free review of a book, and spoiler chapters where we simply review the book down to every last detail. Today we have Midnight Sun by Stephenie Meyer. Ta-da!
Finally.
Finally!
Okay.
So,
where do we start?
Where do we start? We start from the very beginning.
The very, very beginning. 10 years ago.
10 years ago.
No, yeah, 10 years ago, exactly, I think. Wow, even to the month. Okay. I was down in the garden with my friend, sitting, and then she was like, there is this amazing movie you have to watch, Haneen, and it's in English, but you will love it. Back then, I didn't like American movies or any movies that were in the English language. So,
wow, I can't even imagine that anymore.
Yes. Anyway, my taste in movies was horrible. Twilight made the difference. Anyway, though that's controversial to people who think it's just good teen fantasy and stuff. But
I mean, Twilight is cute as long as you're in a certain age where you watched it for the first time.
Yes.
I think if you watch it for the first time when you're older, I think it seems a little
silly. Yes,
silly and weird.
Yeah, and
not your cup of tea.
The fantasy of it, or the fantastical aspect of it wouldn't sit well with an adult, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so that was the day my life changed. Okay, so she was she had the movie memorized word for word, I tell you. But yeah, anyway, I watched there and her excitement moved me and stuff, but then the story really did get to me, and I watched the first movie and the second movie and the third movie. We were in 2011.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, at the start of 2011. By November 2011, Breaking Dawn Part 1 was coming out. I couldn't wait. It was January when I watched the...
So you read the books?
Yes. I couldn't wait. So my uncle was in America. I asked him to get me the books. He got me Twilight and New Moon. The day they got here, I started reading, and I became a reader. So basically, it's the start of everything that I am today. Anyway, it was grade 8, and I would read on the bus, going to school and then coming back. It would take me a chapter a day, going to school and coming back. And even if I didn't finish the chapter, I wouldn't come up to my house until I finished that chapter.
Yeah, you told me about that.
Yeah. And Mama would be, Haneen, the food will get cold. I'm like, wait, Mom, I'll finish the chapter and come back up. Anyway, yeah, those were the days. Since then, I read it 3-4 times, the whole series. I read it when I was 14 then. And when I became Bella's age, I read it again. So from the age 17, 18, 19, when she became a vampire. And then I read them again in college. Wow.
Well,
yeah.
For me, it's kind of the same story. The first English movies the first English movie that I watched, or one of the first, one of them was Twilight.
Mm-hmm.
And that was when I was still in Germany. I was over at my mom's friend's house. She's American, and she has like a whole collection of movies. Like at the time when we still had CDs, when CDs were still a thing.
Yeah.
So she had like all the movies of like Twilight and I don't remember. She had like really the up-to-date movies at the time. And she recommended for me to watch, like her daughter wasn't there, I think, that day. And there wasn't anyone I could play with. So she played me a movie. And the movie was Twilight. The first time I watched it, I was amazed. And plus, I didn't understand half of the story because I was still so young.
Yeah.
There were still so many phrases, so many parts of the story that I didn't understand. And that's why I watched, once I got the chance of when I got my first laptop, I watched the movie again and maybe a third time after that until I realized that there's actually a second part to the movie. And then there was a third part. And then Breaking Dawn still hadn't come out then.
Yeah.
So when Breaking Dawn came out, I remember this very vividly. I was still watching movies online, like on websites, like piracy. Still do sometimes, but not as often. So Breaking Dawn, I couldn't wait to watch the movie. Like I was dying to watch
Me
it.
too.
Okay?
You have no idea. Yeah.
And the movie, when it comes out, it comes in very bad quality
on the pirate website.
Until like a month later. Okay?
Yeah.
I did not care.
Oh.
I did not care. I wanted to see the movie. I watched it in a very bad quality the first time just to see what was happening. So the second time when I watched it, it was mind-blowing. I'm like, wait, oh my god, it looks so much better now. It was like watching it for the first time all over again. So I guess that was a bonus.
Yeah, we watched them so many times. We know them by heart by now.
I know them by heart.
Anyway, so Twilight, like from Breaking Dawn, that was one of the first I started going out to cinemas, and I was adamant. I had to see it on the day it premiered worldwide, and that was a school night. I went, and I would like from the trailer.
How did you convince your parents?
I'm a pretty clever girl, and I finished my homework at school, so so I don't have anything to do.
Smart.
And yeah.
Girl knows how to pick her battles.
Plus, mom was with me on the Twilight vibe.
Journey.
Yeah, she wanted to see the movie as well.
Yeah.
And I would show her the trailer literally every day, so I get her like excited. And I went there doing my hair like Bella on her wedding, and wearing some of her colors. I don't remember what I was wearing actually. But like usually I like to go to movies dressed up as the characters, so this is where it started from.
You know, you just reminded me of a part that I realized in the novel with the dress. When Alice dressed Bella in blue,
yes,
because she knew his preference. And then I remembered that in Breaking Dawn, the dress she was wearing when she became a vampire was also blue.
Yes.
I didn't notice that before.
No, I know that since like then.
Really? I didn't realize it. I mean, I'm like, okay, it's a blue dress, so whatever. I'm like, I didn't really think about the detail that was put in. There were so many eye-opening moments in this novel because
it is.
Like I have to reveal that I still haven't revealed it to them. I've never read Twilight.
Yeah, she hasn't.
Please don't kill me.
She hasn't. I've been trying to make her read them for quite a while now.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna consider everyone jealous because
you got to read Edward's perspective first.
Exactly. And no one is gonna have what I have.
Jealous. I'm very jealous. Yes.
So, I mean, it's a win-win for me, I guess. You can't really hate me because now I have the advantage.
Yeah. Well, I read the first draft from Midnight Sun when it was stolen, and I had that insight into him. So when I was watching the movie, I knew what he was thinking, what he was doing. before he met her. And I had this idea, Aslan, from the beginning that before even reading the first draft, is like there were some parts that weren't in the book or were very different in the movie.
Yes.
Not that different. Or maybe, very different. And I convinced myself that I would add the different parts to the story in my head. So, you know, like Twilight, the events that happened in the movie that weren't in the book, like seeing
You would
James
add
and
them.
the other people hunting, for example.
Yeah.
Yes, I would add them on the timeline in my head in the story.
Same. I did the same.
Yeah.
I did the same thing. Because it's a movie is different. You can see different perspectives at the same time. But in a novel, you can only see one perspective, especially if there's only one character.
Yeah.
So...
But I couldn't do that with other stories.
Yeah,
like Hunger
it's
Games
hard.
or Divergent. No, Hunger Games was pretty close to the book, but like Divergent, Maze Runner, all the other novels that were picked up as adaptations.
Well, there
was very
are,
different.
like, in Hunger Games, there are points of views, like, for example, when you saw Gale, is his name? What was his name?
Gale, I think, yes.
Gale.
Yeah.
When you saw him watching her on the TV screen,
Yeah,
for
that
example,
wasn't
like,
in the book,
that will not
exactly.
be in the book
Yeah.
because it's all
Or
from-
when the people were in the room with the... that were controlling the games. The,
Yeah,
game
yeah,
room.
right.
Yeah.
You wouldn't see that as
Yeah.
well in the story. Yeah.
Anyway,
Anyway,
back to Midnight Sun.
yeah.
And
So, yeah.
for many years since I watched the movie and read the books, Bella and Edward had been like such a huge part in my life. Bella influenced a lot of my characteristics and personality. I would like imitate her in so many ways growing up as a teenager, and seeing her from Edward's perspective, I was kind of seeing myself a little because I'm like Bella in a lot of ways, and Edward has been always there listening to me talk to myself in my room.
We're not going to talk about how unhealthy that is.
Okay. And like I would imagine him
sitting here.
yes, watching me sleep or
Not creepy at all,
Not
honey.
at all.
Not creepy at all.
I did not see the stalkiness part of it until I read Midnight Sun.
We were talking about this before, like,
He wasn't a vampire.
and good looking.
Good looking.
This would be a stalker 100%. Not just a stalker and pervert.
Yes.
And maybe psychopath even? I don't know.
Functioning psychopath.
Same as 50 Shades of Grey. If he wasn't rich and handsome
and damaged.
Yes. I mean, he would have
still not-
probably ended up in an asylum or in prison or anywhere, like, in an institution. No way was he gonna walk around freely. But anyway, we know that this is a story and it's like everything is possible in a novel, you know? In reality, it would be different.
Yeah. It can't hurt as long as it's on the pages.
Exactly. So, and I would like to say that the novel was also beneficial in a way because I was able to see, as a reader, I was able to see so much further than just Edward and Bella's relationship.
Yeah.
You know, like, for example, I finally understood how much Carlisle loved Esme. You know, everything, any of those details are there in the movie, but they're not that clear. Like, he tells me that they love each other and that they're, like, together, but I'm like, okay, but how much? How did they meet? What is their story? What is, like, I'm, like, unaware of all these details. And of how much Alice and Jasper belong together. And what, for example, made Rosalie such a bitter character. So all that was kind of clear, but it was amazing to read about it on paper. So, right. So in page 152 and 153, he literally goes on for like 3 pages long talking about how Alice and Jasper met and how Carlisle and Emmett love each other and what are Rosalie and Emmett to each other. And
You mean Carlisle and Esme?
Carlisle and Esme. What did I say?
And Emmett.
Oopsie.
Well, they love each other.
As a family.
Yes, the father and son.
Father-son kind of love. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. So
It's
it was
fine.
amazing to read about that. And
Yes, it makes you think, what if we get like the
Yeah.
story from their perspective or their story at their time when
yes,
they met?
when
you
they
know?
met.
I would want to know that totally.
Like,
you know?
for example, Alice and Jasper, they're the most adorable thing I have ever seen in my entire
I
life.
think their story is even better than Edward and Bella.
Right?
Yes.
I didn't want to say it out loud. You said it. I didn't say it.
Okay.
I wanted to say that, but I didn't want to hurt your feelings. So,
Okay, I said it.
but I'm still so interested in Jasper and Alice's relationship. Like, I don't even get enough
Yeah.
of them. I want to know more. We kind of get like cute moments in the movies where they like all over each other
Yeah.
and like all the
But
time holding hands and
at the
close
beginning,
and-
at the beginning of Midnight Sun, I was quite bored with them, with Els just looking if Jasper is going to kill anybody or something.
Yeah.
Like,
But it started
they
to
gain more
and oh my
depth,
god,
yeah.
Jasper has powers? Where did that come from?
Jasper has powers.
I didn't know that.
Really?
No.
It's in the movies.
No, it's not.
It is.
No, it's not. It was never mentioned once.
So I know that from the novels?
Jasper has the power to make everyone calm
Yes.
and to fake like this facade. I didn't know that. Maybe it passed my mind. Maybe
Okay.
it passed me. Maybe it is in the movie and I didn't
I don't know.
realize it.
Tell me, guys. Like, or we would definitely watch the movies again. But like, yeah,
Maybe it was in the part where they were preparing for a fight.
yeah.
Which one was it? In Eclipse.
But no, it was known before
wasn't-
that. Like in
No, it
Twilight,
wasn't. When?
In Twilight Bella, I don't remember in the movie, but in the book, Bella would be like Jasper or something. Like she would feel him calming her when they were in the hotel room, and like making her think of happy things. ومش عارفة إيه وكده. And
Where
she would
was that
be-
portrayed in the movie?
And she would be like, and she would look at him and she like, I know you're doing this, you know? Yeah.
That is not visible in the movie. Unless you know to look for it. Like, how would I know?
Okay, maybe in his backstory in Eclipse,
not-
if it wasn't mentioned earlier, in Eclipse, when they like showed us his backstory with Maria, the one who controlled him, they mentioned it's because of his powers.
I wasn't aware of that at all.
He could control the emotions of the newborns and make them loyal to Maria.
I wasn't aware that this is a power. I just thought he was very good at convincing.
Yeah.
I was just like thinking this is something he's good at, like not a power.
But wow, I really want like even the story of Bella and Edward from their perspective. Maybe Alice's perspective. I mean, we got Jacob's perspective in Breaking Dawn, so why not get the rest in the rest of the novels? Like,
Yeah.
do them again. I don't mind. I will buy them.
And like I want to see how Jasper treats Alice. You know,
Yes.
like when they're together alone, what does he do? Like
Yeah.
what does he tell her? What does he like? How
what
are they together? You
And
know?
what he felt when they met.
Yeah.
Like Edward said, he was overwhelmed with her feelings.
I want to know everything. Like, I want to know every single detail. Rosalie and Emmett, not as much, because there's something about them that doesn't feel genuine. You know, there's something... I feel like Rosalie is just with Emmett because the situation is like that.
No. They mated, but like they are both... I don't want to say shallow people, but when they were human, Emmett was like obsessed with like strength or something, or like not strength exactly, but like being powerful and courage and courageous and stuff. And Rosalie with her beauty and
yeah.
yeah.
I didn't quite like the idea of like Rosalie becoming jealous that Edward didn't fall for her or something. I'm like, what is this? Where are we? Is this kindergarten?
But yani, it's offensive to her. I mean, I'm that beautiful, you know.
But why make her that way? Like, why? How is this in any way flattering to her character?
It doesn't have to be. Like, some people are like this, I guess.
I understand. But if I had to choose any other couple that I would want to read about, it would be Jasper and Alice.
Yes.
Definitely 100%. Yes. Okay.
Okay, do I complete the part about... okay, so I've, like, reading Midnight Sun this time was... I really enjoyed it, and I focused on enjoying it and not taking notes for the podcast, so Nesma.
I'm gonna take the lead for this one.
Yes.
Honestly, I haven't been taking notes while I was reading. I didn't do that at all. After I was done reading with it, after I was finished reading it, I started to jot everything down. Like, I just used my quote highlights as a guideline.
I didn't even do that.
I know. I was like, there are so many other quotes that I didn't highlight while I was reading. Like, look at this. There's like a lot more that I had in mind, but I didn't. I forgot about them. While I'm reading, I get so intensified while I'm reading that I do not have the mind
to break away and
to get up and get my sticky notes and write something down. That will break the whole mood. So I always think I'm gonna remember this one, bring the sticky note later and remark it, which I never do. That never happens, which is why whenever I started reading, I made sure that the sticky note was right next to me. So whenever it wasn't, khalas, it was my bad luck.
I guess before we go into detail in the book, for those who haven't read it yet, I mean, what are you doing with your life? But
so far, I think
what you would like look for in this book is having more insight, surprisingly, into Bella's personality and her past life.
Well, to me, everything was an insight.
Anyway, yeah, and like things like when Bella was asleep, where was Edward and what was he doing?
Right, yes.
And when she was in Phoenix and facing the tracker, where was he and what he was doing? Oh my god, that part was so intense. You have no idea, guys. If you haven't read it, like, go.
It was a little bit too intense. Like, to be honest, I think she could have refrained a little bit from every single detail. Like, she literally wrote every single thing down.
You're in the head of a vampire. He noticed these things.
I know. No, I mean, not the things he notices. I mean, on top of the things he notices, there are extra things that she adds. You know what I mean?
I don't mind. It was more of him. Plus, there was this intense and major chapter, which they were at the meadow. I think this is where the whole Twilight story started. It was a dream, and Stephenie Meyer woke up and wrote it. And this is like where the story was built up from. And from his perspective, it's something else.
Really? I haven't read her perspective, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know anything from her perspective. That's the problem. I'm like fresh to this, so I have no clue.
Yeah.
I'm gonna read. The problem is I'm very afraid that once I start reading the series, that I'm gonna miss Edward's side of things. Mm-hmm. Now that I'm used to his side, and I started with his side, I'm so afraid that I'm gonna lose interest now that I'm not gonna have his perspective anymore.
Well, there is 98% chance that you would.
The thing is that I want to hear his thoughts, for example, in Breaking Dawn, when she got pregnant. What was his thoughts when he heard the baby for the first time? How was he when she got born? You know, like, what were his thoughts when he held her, when when Bella was on the table and dying or transforming into a vampire, what was he thinking? You know, I'm like,
no. Even before that, in New Moon, when he decided to leave,
yeah.
and what was he doing when he left, and what made him, like, how he went to the Volturi, what he was thinking, and what he was planning to do exactly in his head, all the other scenarios that we didn't get to see, and Eclipse, his, like, we know him now as a very jealous type of person.
Yeah.
Or like very jealous when it comes to Bella. How did he bear it in Eclipse when he was basically pushing her into Jacob's arms?
Right.
Like, what was in his head then? I don't agree. This should be just the last book we get from Edward's perspective. No. Like, I want to continue.
To be honest, I am on your side on this because
I want to put myself in her shoes and of going back to the same story and writing it from another perspective and doing the same events all over again. Maybe that's a bit boring for her.
Yeah.
But we really need it.
I would pay hundreds of pounds on this.
We paid hundreds of pounds on this.
Well, yeah. It is a lot of pages.
Yeah, it is.
And, like, the thing is, I hate long chapters. I cannot bear long chapters.
No, I'm used to them.
I hate them so much. I just hate them. Like, I don't mind that there are more chapters. Like, the same content, same book, but maybe the chapters are just shorter. Like would it kill her? Okay, how many chapters did she do? 29?
29.
Would it kill her to do 60 chapters?
Okay, I'm not with you on this one because the first book I read was from her writing and
I don't care if anyone's not on my side.
Ouch.
This is something, it's just for me as a reader, I like it when I feel accomplishment quickly, you know? Like, I feel when the chapter is long, it's prolonged. Like, I don't feel like I've accomplished anything, you know?
Yeah.
But anyway, we got through it.
Yes. And for me, still, Stephenie Meyer's prose or writing style is the best.
Yeah.
It's the first I've known, and the first that developed my English language and discourse and vocabulary and everything.
Yeah.
So I'm very grateful to her, actually.
I mean, it goes without saying that her writing is basically a work of art.
Yeah.
There was this scene during the novel where I was amazed at the way she wrote it. You know, I only have the movie as a reference. So every little detail in the movie is etched into my mind like stone.
Yeah.
So I really had it as a guideline. So, for example, I love the way she described the slow motion scene we have in the movie where Bella was saved by Edward from the truck almost crushing her.
Yes.
Like, wait, let me read it to you. Okay. I was like blown away at the way she described it. Here. She didn't see me. No human eyes could have followed my flight, still staring at the hulking shape that was about to grind her body into the metal frame of her truck. I caught her around the waist, moving with too much urgency to be as gentle as she would need me to be. In the hundredth of a second between yanking her slight form out of the path of death and crashing to the ground with her in my arms, I was vividly aware of her fragile, breakable body. When I heard her head thump against the ice, it felt as though I had turned to ice too. I'm like, oh my god, this is so good. How did I not have this before in my life? I'm like, I needed this.
Yes, true.
So there was this like thought that I had, the way she uses such strong contrast between him and Bella. Her writing is so good that at some point while reading, you don't even notice you're reading anymore. Yes. And I loved the contrast between Edward and Bella. Like, like the use of the word fragile and the word like
Breakable.
and it's like, oh my god, is she like a vase or something? What is she? She's a human being, but I guess that from a vampire's perspective it makes sense.
He's basically indestructible.
It's not my this is the first time that I read about a vampire. I've never read about any vampire before.
You were more Vampire Diaries, but not reading the show.
Not reading.
And yeah.
I mean, I love me some vampires, especially Damon Salvatore.
But
like, Damon Salvatore and Edward are two different sides completely.
Yes.
Like, Damon is more feisty and sexy, and Edward is
It's
more
tormented and
mysterious.
Yeah. Wow, my colleagues at school used to convince me to watch Vampire Diaries, and I'm like, nah, Twilight's fine. But you made me watch Vampire Diaries in high school, and thank you for that. We're here for Midnight Sun.
You're very welcome. So, the first chapter alone was, for me, utterly consuming because I hadn't even the slightest idea what Edward was like in his head. And to see that he had such violent visions of when he first saw Bella enter the classroom.
Yes.
I was shocked by the intensity of his desires for her. And at the same time, I was so grateful for Robert Pattinson's performance as an actor in the movie and perfectly portraying the character. Makes visualizing the person or the character while reading the story a lot easier.
Very easy. I can't see but him. Like I don't know.
For example,
you know, like at times he's like, there is an inner monologue in his head, or he's thinking something, okay, or describing something around him, and I remember Robert Pattinson wincing or shifting his eyes.
Yes.
Or I'm like, wow, did he have this book with him? Is he the only one who read it?
I don't think he did.
He's amazing. Well, he is an amazing actor. He did many other works that were art films sometimes. Yeah.
Here, for example, I was nothing close to the human I'd once been. No trace of the shreds of humanity I'd managed to cloak myself in over the years remained. I was a predator. She was my prey. There was nothing else in the whole world but that truth. There was no room full of witnesses. They were already collateral damage in my mind. The mystery of her thoughts was forgotten. Her thoughts meant nothing, for she would not go on thinking them much longer. I was a vampire, and she had the sweetest blood I'd smelt in more than 80 years. I was so shocked by the way he was thinking and planning of how would he get out of this? How would he get away with killing her? Would he have to kill everyone first and then kill her? Or kill her first and then kill everyone else?
Or like how he would stand in front of the door, or like...
He kept thinking about no one in the hallway would notice because it would be so fast there wouldn't be any screams. And I'm like, oh my god. Wow.
Mass murder. Edward Cullen committing mass murder.
So that was very, like, eye-opening. I'm like, that really happened? And I'm quite aware that during the scene in the movie that he was so intensely looking at her this whole time. For me as a viewer, it's just okay, he just wants to eat her, you know. He just wants to drink her blood,
but not planning
on how to do it. Or just him trying to resist not to drink her blood. So that's as far as my mind went. Like, I didn't even think about the possibility of him planning a mass murder. Wow. So that was very, like, the first chapter alone was very, wow, like, intrusive. So it really showed you that from the beginning that this is a vampire and nothing else, you know?
And the first sentence of the story, it's this was the time of the day when I most wished I were able to sleep. High school. Or was purgatory the right word?
Purgatory.
And like, this is like, we got introduced first to his sense of humor, And then
We apologize if you hear a dog in the background. There's just a dog barking. We can't control him.
on the 3rd floor. He's in a balcony on the 3rd floor and barks every night, all night. So that's the soundtrack I go to sleep to.
But anyway, you were saying?
Yeah, I was saying we were first introduced to his sense of humor.
Yeah.
And then his conflict, basically, of being bored, you know?
Yeah.
And then his vampire side.
How strong it is.
How strong it is. And then how amazing he is as a person.
Yeah.
And gentle and loving and...
You know, this gave me also a perspective on, I know I'm going off track, but on Stefan from Vampire Diaries.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's similar to Edward.
Yeah.
Because of the way he chooses to live, like animal blood and everything, and him loving Elena and not trying not to kill her all the time. And it's like this constant thought of like, because he loves her, the thirst for blood is not as strong, you know? That's like the core like idea of their love story, you know? Like, because the love for her, does not kill her, you know? So, but that's like so insane because like, you're with someone who has the instinct to kill you the whole time. And just because he loves you, he's not doing it. Well, thank you very much.
I feel privileged.
So it's like, it's very funny, but also romantic at the same time.
Yeah. They're both masochistic.
You know, now that you've mentioned the funny thing about Edward's character, I was very surprised at how witty Bella is. Like, where was that in the movie?
Yeah.
Bella is so dull in the movie.
She is.
Like, I wasn't sure how I felt about that because I went into the story with a completely different map of the character. You know, like, all the time stuttering and unsure of herself, always second checking everything. And it's like, Kristen Stewart really portrayed a whole different character. She made her own character, and I guess she stayed true to that character that she created.
Yes.
And I guess as an actress, you have the privilege to do that. But nothing like the Bella in the novels. I feel like I've met a whole new person.
And nothing like the Bella from Edward's perspective. Really.
Yeah?
Yeah. Like, from Bella's perspective, yes, you recognize the maturity of her thoughts. How she plans her day, her likes and dislikes, what she tries to avoid, how taken she is with Edward and everything. But you're inside this character, so you don't have labels for what she's doing, you know, that she's good or selfless, or you're just selfless with her, you know. You wouldn't think that she is selfless, you know, while reading. So from Edward's perspective, you get this new insight on Bella, on her passions, on like her past life, how she treats her mother. Yes, with her you're like the parent, but you don't notice as much. It is noticeable, but like I liked Bella more from Edward's perspective because, I mean, like, he's besotted with the girl.
I mean, everything about her is perfect for him, so.
Yeah. Speaking of everything about her is perfect for him. Like, the way he described how perfect she is for him and how made they are for each other. Wow. Or like the way Stephenie Meyer showed it. Here I even memorized the page. 247, if I remember correctly. But I'm usually right about those things. Not bragging or anything.
Cocky much?
Okay, it's more of an excerpt, but like, I'll give you some context. Edward was there, I think, for the first time in her bedroom. watching her sleep and
Not creepy at all.
at all. And he was thinking, why doesn't she have a guardian angel? And if she doesn't have them, then they don't exist.
When he said he would be her vampire guardian.
Yeah, but the way he thought about it, it was like, someone like Bella ought to have a protector, a guardian angel. She deserved that, and yet clearly she'd been left defenseless. I would love to believe an angel or anything else was watching over her, anything that would give her a measure of protection. But when I tried to imagine that champion, it was obvious such a thing was impossible. What guardian angel would have allowed Bella to come here, to cross my path, formed as she was, in such a fashion that there was no way I could possibly overlook her? A ridiculously potent scent to demand my attention. A silent mind to inflame my curiosity. A quiet beauty to hold my eyes. A selfless soul to earn my awe. Factor in the total lack of self-preservation, so she was not repelled by me, and then, of course, add the white streak of appallingly bad luck that would put her always in the wrong place at the wrong time. There could be no stronger evidence. The guardian angels were a fantasy. No one needed or deserved one more than Bella. I mean, the way he put every need or quirk or characteristic in him and how she fulfills that, it's just like, it was like him saying they were mates, you know?
Yeah.
But I can't get over the way he thinks that he's bad for her. I mean, get over yourself.
That was so annoying. It was
Yeah.
getting on my nerve. Like, dude, just like roll with it. Stop thinking about that and just enjoy the moment.
He's such an overthinker.
Oh my god, yes. I even had that point. I said, I never realized how much of an overthinker Edward was. His thoughts are so complex, so intense and deep that I never saw it coming. It was enlightening to read about his character, but at some point in the story, his constant worry about her was getting a tad bit on my nerves.
No. I loved his worry about her. The way he would make up scenarios in his head and things would escalate. That was hilarious.
Yeah.
I mean, and then I thought in New Moon when he left, how did he control that? Like, he was right outside her house and created those scenarios. Where was he when in New Moon, and like, what did he think of? Edward. What to do with you?
Right. Another point that was so cute. His insecurity about how to court her.
Yes.
Wait, I have this
Yes.
one. 152.
He is such a gentleman.
I didn't know how to do this. How to court her as a normal human, modern man in the year 2005. As a human, I'd only learned the customs of my time. Thanks to my strange gift, I knew quite well how people thought now, what they did, how they acted, but when I tried to act casual and modern, it seemed all wrong. Probably because I wasn't normal or modern or human, and it wasn't as if I learned anything usable from my family. None of them had had anything near a normal courtship. Even accepting the two other qualifications. Yeah. Then he says here, he starts describing everyone's relationship. Like, Rosalie and Emmett had been a cliche, the classic love at first sight. There had never been a moment where either one had questioned what they were to each other. In the second Rosalie saw Emmett, she'd been drawn to the innocence and honesty that had evaded her in life. She wanted him. In the first second that Emma saw Rosalie, he saw a goddess, whom he had worshipped without cease ever since. There had never been an awkward first conversation full of doubt, never a fingernail biting moment of waiting for a yes or a no.
I mean, he's the he's more human than the humans.
Yeah. And in page 62, I was amazed at how lonely he felt. That was never something that crossed my mind. Like, he's surrounded by family, so why should he feel lonely? But I'm aware now that because he's surrounded by so many couples, that of course he does feel lonely. Like, some days it was harder than others to live with 3 sets of perfectly matched lovers. This was one of them. Maybe they would all be happier without me hanging around, ill-tempered and belligerent, as the old man I should be by now. Of course, the first thing I did when we reached the school was to look for the girl, just preparing myself again.
The girl.
Right.
The girl.
Let's talk about that.
He stopped calling her the girl in his head at some point.
I don't know when he stopped doing it.
I think after the meadow?
Probably. Why did he do that, though? Like, when he talks to her out loud,
just calls her Bella.
He calls her Bella.
In his head.
But in his head, he calls her the girl. Why? Because he's, like, trying to detach himself from Bella's character, like, Bella's as a person. Like, he just...
Okay, let's just take a step back from thinking that Edward is the one who called her the girl. It's Stephenie Meyer who did. Why did she choose that Edward
should call Bella the girl?
It's either because she wants to emphasize his age, or to create, like, maybe
a distance between
until he can finally call her his. And
yeah,
I guess.
I think that makes sense.
But it annoyed me to be like...
The girl. Just call her Bella. Her name is Bella.
Or like...
call her Isabella, for example. I don't know.
Yes. Or like, when we think of our crush, we don't call him the boy.
No. No. We do not do that.
We do not that. We call them what? A certain someone. You must not be named.
You must not be named. So, moving on to a new point. There were a lot of, like, traits in Bella's personality that I found very relatable.
Yes.
And I was so... Like, I'm aware that readers, I think in general, Stephenie Meyer has created such a relatable character to everyone. Like, every girl who will read her or read about her will feel that there's a piece of her
in them.
In them. Yes. So
a lot of pieces in her and me, to be honest.
So I was very inspired by that, like I still have a struggle of creating my own characters in the story, of like, how should they look like? Should their personalities be? Should they be something relatable? Should they be something abstract that people find them so intriguing that they're nothing like them? But I find that it works in the author's favor that when the character is relatable on a like global basis, if you can say that, I don't know, that like more people will fall in love with her, Mm-hmm. And I think that is beautiful in a way, like to make her something special to every person, like when they read her. Yeah. For example, there was on page 156, my mom always says I was born 35 years old and that I get more middle-aged every year. She laughed again and then sighed. Well, someone has to be the adult. This clarified things for me. It was easy to understand how the irresponsibility of the mother would result in the maturity of the daughter. She'd had to grow up early to become the caretaker. That's why she didn't like being cared for. She felt it was her job. I was thinking about this. It's not, for me, it's not the same thing exactly, but it's something similar. It's because my mom, she's German, and she lives in a country where she doesn't speak the language. So for me, I would always have to like interfere with like situations that are nothing of my responsibilities as a child.
Yeah.
Simply because my mom can't do it.
Like call the carpenter for something.
Yes, or call anything or do anything, or just the delivery guy, when he comes over and he asks for the money, she doesn't understand the numbers. I have to pay the bills or something like that.
Yeah.
So it would be, for me as a young child, maybe I think it's more intense with my brother because my brother was always there, but there were moments where I was affected too. So I always felt like people taking care of me, or people doing things, people going out of their own way to do something for me doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
Why? Because I have this instinct to take care of other people all the time, you know, or to make everything comfortable for other people rather than myself. So that's...
I vouch for that, guys. I'm very well taken care of.
True. But when someone takes care of me, it feels weird. You know, I feel very uncomfortable all of a sudden. Wait, this is strange. I don't know this feeling. Yeah. That was one thing. And then there's another one, which I'm pretty sure you're going to relate to as well. I actually thought of you when I highlighted it. Yes. That's enough for now. She'd done more exploring in fiction than in reality, and I was surprised she'd listed a book I'd not yet read. I would have to find a copy of Tooth and Claw. I could see elements of the stories in her makeup, characters that had shaped the context of her world. There was a bit of Jane Eyre in her, a portion of Scout Finch and Jo March, a measure of Eleanor Dashwood and Lucy Pevensey. I don't know any of these names. I was sure I'd find more connections as I learned more about her. It was like putting together a puzzle, one with hundreds of thousands of pieces, and no depiction of the complete image to serve as a guide. Time-consuming with many false leads, but ultimately I would be able to see the whole picture.
Yes.
So that's one. And then 313...
to find someone who would read all the books I've read to understand me.
Oh, here, some, for example, favorite TV show. This is gonna be a long one, but it's just dialogue, so it'll be quick. Favorite TV show? I don't watch a lot of TV. I wondered if she was afraid to go into detail, worried again about me being bored. Maybe a few softball questions would relax her. Cookie or Pepsi? Dr. Pepper. Favorite ice cream? Cookie dough. By the way, we need to try all these things that she likes. Cookie dough. Let's try cookie dough next time when we eat ice cream.
Okay.
Pizza? Cheese. Boring, but true. Football team? Pass. Basketball? She shrugged. I'm not really a sports person. Ballet or opera? Ballet, I guess. I've never been to the opera. Ding, 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 ding.
No, I have been to the opera. But
Well,
not to
for
an
me-
operatic
But I'm saying if
theater,
I
yeah.
chose between ballet and opera, I would choose the same thing.
Yeah,
I'm
me too.
fascinated by ballet. We haven't watched ballet yet together, have we?
Yes, no.
No.
You've been
We
meaning
need
to
to-
watch Gazelle.
Giselle, yes.
Giselle, yeah.
I was not unaware that this list I was compiling had a use besides just learning to understand as much as I could of her. I was also learning things that might please her, gifts I might give her, places I could take her, little things and bigger things. It was presumptuous in the extreme to imagine that I could ever have that kind of standing in her life, but how I wished. So that's another point.
Yeah. How humble he is about, like, having her.
Yeah.
You know? He just doesn't...
He doesn't like, you're mine.
Yes.
You belong to me.
Or inside him, like, he doesn't feel like he deserves her.
Yeah.
And that's why he's maybe, yes, humble about it, but, like, it's cute. What else have you got?
I think we just finished this page. Okay. We said that as well. Bella's different. There were moments. Yes. There were like moments in their love story that had me wallowing in utter jealousy. You know, I'm like the way they love each other or the way they fell in love is so beautiful that I'm like, I'm so jealous.
Yes.
Like, the way they fell in love is such a strong force of energy, and I've never felt that before. Like, while reading, even Reese and Farah do not compare to what's in this novel. It's so different. It's with Reese and Farah, it's more physical. A lot more physical.
Yes, this is more emotional.
Yeah.
And mental.
Plus, you're in the mind of an overthinker. So when you have the mind of an overthinker, things go more slowly. You know, because of all the decision making and all the decision taking, and you know. So till he makes a decision or till he decides to be with her, it took such a long time.
Yeah.
You know, he kept resisting her over and over again. So, yeah. That was, speaking of physical, I was surprised by how touchy-feely Edward was. Like, in the movie, I know I keep referring to the movie, but this is all I have as a reference. In the movie, we only have the kiss, couple moments here and there, but other than that, there is, like, no kisses whatsoever. And there were so many kisses in this book. Yeah. Like, I was surprised by how many times they touched and kissed each other in the story. Because, like, how?
The way he described the kiss the first time, when he was like, the alchemy of something like that. There was the word, where was it?
I got it.
Okay.
462.
But also the way he described, like, when their hands touched, or when he touched her face, how his hand would burn with this kind of electricity all day. I mean, I have been ruined in a way with the story. To have read the first story I ever read would be this. Like, the expectations I had since I was 13. I mean, wow.
I'm amazed of their love story. Like, still coming. There are, like, 2 scenes that I want to talk about. Here. Now, I was thinking there was something I wanted to try. I put my hands lightly on either side of her face, leaving her plenty of room to move away if this was unwelcome. Her breath caught, and she automatically angled her head closer to mine. I used an 1/8 of a second to recalibrate, testing every system in my body to be completely positive that nothing would take me off guard. The way she's describing it, I'm like, oh my god, I'm so on edge. My thirst was well under control, sublimated to the very bottom of my physical needs. I regulated the pressure in my hands and my arms, the way my torso curved toward her, so that my touch would be lighter against her skin than the breeze. Though I was sure the precaution was unnecessary, I held my breath. There was no such thing as too careful, after all. Her eyelids slid shut. I closed the tiny distance between us, and pressed my lips softly against hers. Though I thought I was prepared, I was not entirely ready for the combustion. What strange alchemy was this, that the touch of lips should be so much more than the touch of fingers. It made no logical sense that simple contact between this specific area of skin should be so much more powerful than anything I'd yet experienced. It felt as if a new sun was bursting into being where our mouths yet met. My whole body was filled to a shatter point with the brilliant light of it.
Okay, 2 images I got from this quote, from this excerpt. First, Romeo and Juliet.
Yes.
You kiss by the book.
Yes.
Yes. And second, when he mentioned the sun, it was Elizabeth and Mr. Darcy in Pride and Prejudice. the movie when they were like, they didn't kiss, but like the sun between them at like the end of the movie. And like,
Aww. Oh, that's so beautiful.
but the alchemy of it. Wow.
The alchemy of it. But you know, with like the kissing and the a lot of touching, I would have loved to see that more in the movie. You know, like not just the kiss in the bedroom. I would have loved to see like another 2 kisses. Maybe.
It wasn't even in the bedroom. Like in the book, it was
here. Yeah, but in the movie, it was in the bedroom.
Yeah.
Here, where was it?
I remember one MTV.
It was in the bedroom.
No. Here, the first kiss was right after they ran and stopped in front of the truck when they were coming back from the meadow.
Right.
Or was it in the truck? No, it wasn't inside a closed space. Yeah. She fainted.
She did faint. No, that was another time. If she didn't faint here, she fainted another time. That was another kiss. That's when they were already boyfriend and girlfriend.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember that clearly.
Let's check, Kashan. I'm pretty sure. I don't know.
No.
No?
Mm-mm. Like, the love story between Bella and Edward is so epic that there were such relatable, or rather hopeful moments between them. Like it helped me to imagine what I would like it to feel like falling in love with someone.
I like the questions at the beginning. You know, the ones they were asking each other over dinner, over lunch at school, in the car. I love this. I mean, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
An amazing way to know. Yes.
Yeah. So, here, for example. Oh. I'm just pleasantly surprised. In the last 100 years or so, I paused and almost laughed at her somewhat smug reaction before I continued. Mm-hmm. She loved my honesty. I never imagined anything like this. Nothing close. I didn't believe I would ever find someone I wanted to be with in another way than my brothers and sisters. Perhaps romance always seemed a slightly foolish thing to everyone until one actually fell into it. And then to find, even though it's all new to me, that I'm good at it, at being with you. There's another one.
Aww.
You seem more optimistic than usual. I haven't seen you like this before, she noted. Optimistic. And a stout observation. My cynical old self seemed an entirely different person. I leaned closer to her, her wrists still locked in my hands. Isn't it supposed to be like this? The glory of first love and all that. It's incredible, isn't it? The difference between reading about something, seeing it in the pictures, and experiencing it. She nodded, thoughtful. Very different. More forceful than I'd imagined. I'm like, I want this!
Yes!
Is this too much to ask?
True. Okay, we will sound whiny, but I mean, you get tired of reading about it and watching it in the pictures.
Yeah, you do. You do. At some point, it gets very tiring. Last thing I have on my list.
Mm-hmm.
There were scenes that happened in the novel which I didn't like, and I liked them more the way they were portrayed in the movie. Like, for example, the scene where they say, so the lion fell in love with the lamb.
What a masochistic line. What a stupid lamb.
Yes, exactly. I loved because it's so iconic in the movie. You know, the scene where she goes into the woods, he follows her. He has that scene where he goes up the tree and she follows him and he can't be near her, so he goes away, and then they have that pause. من الأول?
Yeah.
Okay. So my last point is that there are some scenes in the movie that I enjoyed a lot more, or that were portrayed better than the way they were portrayed in the novel. Like, for example, the iconic scene in the woods where Bella or rather Edward finally confronts Bella about what she knows about him. Like,
more like Bella confronts Edward, yeah.
They're both confronting each other because he's like, say it.
Say it.
I want you to say it.
It wasn't like that.
You're a vampire.
It was more subtle in the book. I give you that. And it was in the car.
I know. I was like so annoyed. Why are they sitting in the car? They should be in the woods. You know what? I'll just make them stand in the woods. Once again, I'm the one who's controlling the setting. But I don't know, they did it very, I guess for a novel this is great, and for a movie they made it as a movie, you know, like as a flashy scene where, more flashy, like where he grabs her by the arm and takes her up to the mountain to show her what he looks like. And I guess in a movie it makes sense to do that, because then they move the storyline faster forward, you know, like it takes a lot more time. But in the book
he was like enjoying running with her and then taking care of not to hit a tree, or like are you okay, and then, like wanting her to like it. But in the movie it was their thing basically. He took her so many times to run and climb trees, and like even the scene in the movie where they were in the tree and looking on the river.
Oh, I love that one.
It wasn't in the book.
It's one of my favorite scenes.
He just like threw her on the couch in his room or something. Yeah.
So that's another one,
Oh, but that scene when he was in his room and Jasper was drawn to what they were feeling to each other. It gave you kind of a third perspective to what they were feeling.
It was beautiful. So lastly, I have 2 quotes marked without anything in particular to say. They're just favorite quotes, I guess. Though it was impossible, we belonged together. Everything was wrong with this picture. A killer and an innocent leaning close, each basking in the presence of the other, totally at peace. It was as if we'd somehow ascended to a better world where such impossibilities could exist. I love how the idea of something that is impossible is made possible. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, it's a love story. So I guess that's, it's beautiful.
It reminds you of Heartless, Shay.
Yeah. And the last one, page 704. Her pain and her nightmares. I'd never been able to imagine my resolve not breaking, not caving to the knowledge of her grief. I couldn't imagine it now, but I would have to do it. I had to learn the strength. I prayed to her God with all the anguish of my damned lost soul that he or she or it would help me protect Bella from myself.
That moment, I just wanted to cuddle him.
Yeah. It's okay. Yeah. That's it for what I had to say. And for what you had to say. Is there anything else you want to say?
Yeah. I just wanted to tell you, as while I was reading it, you weren't there yet, the part where he was chasing basically the vision to save Bella from James.
Yeah.
And like the car speed and like the road, the 30 seconds ahead and it was suddenly an action book.
The car switching and
and the car switching.
And the way he was looking at that motorcycle can drive 190 and I want that one. And then Alice was like, do not think about it. We need to stay together. Although in the movie,
he went
was
there
alone.
first. Yes.
Because he's the fastest.
First. Because he's
the fastest of the family. Yeah.
But anyway, I guess he did go in first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just remembered there was another thing that was a little bit like prolonged. I think like in chapter 23 or chapter 24 around, it was called Chores. Chapter the one titled Chores.
When she was
where Alice was
cleaning up the mess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It felt a little, I guess, as a fan of the story of like the series.
But this was Alice in action.
I know.
But I know she prolonged with the visions.
Yeah,
like,
she did. She
like-
did. I enjoyed it. I'm not complaining. I was just like,
Yeah.
she could have just made it a little bit shorter.
and oh my God, Bella's mother. The way she projects, and I never thought about that. Or that's an interesting aspect to
And the way,
give her
like,
character.
I was surprised as well at how Charlie, his mind being read, I think maybe it's something in their family where their minds are infiltrated a little bit harder than other humans.
Yes.
This is something I wanted to talk about as well. Why was Bella's mind already shielded when she was a human?
Because it was like it's what it's what magnified later. So why was it there in the first place? It's I guess
It's like she already had powers when she's human.
yes, that no one can read her basically, or not read her. She said she was an open book, but I mean infiltrate her bubble, of like كده, her comfort zone basically. But no, she didn't have a comfort zone. She was كده.
But I mean,
People
like
pleaser.
the mind reading. That's what I'm talking about with vampires specifically. Like, forget about comfort zone and bubble and everything. I'm talking about like telepathy.
I mean, to be made for him, to spark his curiosity.
I'm aware of that. I'm aware that it's part of the story, but where did it come from?
I don't
my
know
question.
why Stephenie Meyer.
I have an
had this
explanation,
history.
but I'm not quite like, this is my own interpretation of
Okay,
it.
say it.
So, what if it's like she's already destined to become a vampire? Like, she already has her powers as a human, kind of. Like
Not every human has
maybe
them.
5% of
Not
them.
everyone, yeah.
How every human? Like Alice could see the future when she was a human? No, she couldn't.
No, she was in an asylum because she had visions, or she knew things she shouldn't have known. She was transparent in a way. That's why she was in an asylum.
And Edward? He could just read people?
Yeah, and Edward was attuned to people's thoughts and كده, what they were thinking. He was intuitive. I guess if you read
that
the
makes
guide,
sense. Yeah. I guess
it
that
will
makes
make
sense.
sense,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I know for me it was like an idea of, okay, she already has like this thing about her, so because I already know the end of it is that when she becomes a vampire, she's a shield. So I'm like aware of the fact that maybe this is her way of being destined to become more, like her powers developing to something more powerful, I think. So yeah, that's an idea. But I guess your idea is, it's more like the same concept like Vampire Diaries. Like whatever you're feeling as a human is amplified when you're a vampire.
Yeah.
Just like Elena like having feelings for Damon, and then when she became a vampire, she was in love with him because her feelings got amplified.
Yeah, but this is more about Bella's mind, and why would she have a shield? Why would this develop in her,
Yeah. I always wondered about that.
Because maybe she always thought differently than people, and that would...
Okay, but she's not the only human being who thinks differently than other people.
Yeah,
you know?
True.
I know, like, we can talk all about destiny and fate and like they are mated for each other, and I'm like, okay, but that still doesn't explain why is she like this.
Why this? Yeah.
So I guess that's like food for thought.
True. Think about it, guys, and tell us. I'm blanking now.
Yeah. So I think that's it for the episode, right?
Yeah. I mean, this doesn't do it justice. There is a lot of things that I'm sure we missed. And I wanted to talk about reading the book, but I was so taken with it. And I mean, if there is something you have wanted to be mentioned, tell us and let's discuss it on social media or by email or like wherever you can reach us. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I absolutely love this book. It is amazing even for people who haven't read Twilight before, so it's not anything. But I think you should know the story. Like, you should have watched the movies at least, so you know so you know what's happening.
Yeah.
But Stephenie Meyer's consideration for people who don't know the story, I think you can still read it blankly. You know?
You don't need Bella's side.
You don't need anything. You don't even need the movies, technically.
Yeah.
You can go in blind, start fresh. But I think anyone who has listened to this or is interested in Midnight Sun has already read the series.
Yeah.
So
or watched
the movies. Yeah. But I'm so happy that I read it, and I'm happy that I'm in it right now, because now I have the final motivation to finally read Twilight. Like, it was never on my radar until I got to know you.
A taste of Stephenie Meyer's writing, and I told you it's the best out there.
It is delicious.
Maybe someone would be on the same level like Cassandra Clare, but Stephenie, she's unique.
Yeah. No, she can write. Right, this is something I wanted to talk about as well. The way she can write about the same thing over and over and over again, but in a different wording it differently. Like, there's so many pages where he worries about the same thing over and over, but it doesn't sound like the same thing, because Stephenie Meyer's writing, she makes it sound fresh.
Yeah.
You know, she doesn't make it sound like repetitive. There is repetitive behind it.
And that's the point, that he keeps thinking about the same thing, and it's
but she doesn't use the same words, or she doesn't like use the same sentencing, you know? And I think amazing. It takes talent, really amazing talent.
It feels like we deserve it as a reader, you know? This is
really what authors should be.
Dedication. I loved it. I felt like it was a personal letter to me. This book is dedicated to all the readers who have been such a happy part of my life for the last 15 years. When we first met, many of you were young teenagers with bright, beautiful eyes full of dreams for the future. I hope that in the years that have passed, you've all found your dreams and that the reality of them was even better than you'd hoped. That line, wow, even better than you'd hoped. I'm not really sure about that. I mean, you set the bar pretty high.
Oh my god.
And for those of you who have the book and haven't read the acknowledgement page
in the back,
she asked us to write our name on there.
Yeah.
Like, so go ahead and do it if you can stomach it, but I can't until now, so yeah.
I mean, I don't feel, the thing is, like, when I read that, the at the beginning, what's it called? The dedication. I didn't feel like I was addressed and as much. I didn't feel like I was involved in the group. you know?
Maybe.
Like an outsider.
But for me it was...
But I think I'm still in it, kind of, because I know the movies inside and out. I know them inside out.
Like, when I read that dedication, I was transferred back a decade ago, not 15 years, but a decade, and I was like, how young and naive I was. But I mean, she was part of making me a dreamer, and I am still a dreamer, and I don't think I can live without dreams. Anyway, regardless, thank you for listening, and I mean, wow.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Wow. Midnight Sun, finally.
Finally,
I can't
we read
believe it. You know, I wanted to finish the book so I can start it again. I had this, like
I have this same feeling. I have the same feeling. The thing is, like, once I started reaching the last 3 chapters, I was like, uh-oh.
It's ending.
Uh-oh.
I was very disappointed at the beginning when I, like, flicked to the epilogue and saw that, yes, it ends at the prom, like, Twilight. I, like, the book is so big, there's more events. And I'm like, no,
not really.
I thought she would go into New Moon until maybe he leaves and how he feels. And But I mean, she set a precedent there that he's leaving, you know? And I just wish she continues writing it from his perspective.
I hope so too.
I mean, you gave us this. You can't hold back now.
Yeah.
I don't want to stop talking about it, but like...
We have to.
Yeah.
We have work tomorrow.
True. Yes, we should go to bed.
Yeah.
So, good night.
Good night, everyone, or good morning, or good afternoon, whatever time it is.
We're going to bed now.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you for making it to the end of this chapter. Finally, our questions about Edward Cullen have been answered. This novel was long overdue, and I think all Twilight fans can agree. For next chapter, we have our second poetry review on our podcast, and this time it's Sea Prayer by Khaled Hosseini. Anticipate new chapters every Wednesday. Turn the page.